although I'm a speaker tonight, but because of you, I can be speaker. Do you know what I mean? So I can be speaker because of listeners, right? So without listeners, I cannot be. If nobody is here, I cannot be a speaker, right? So it is the truth of interdependence, right? Because of you, I can be a speaker, right? And then so that's why I really appreciate so many people are here tonight to listen to the Dharma. I hope I can provide a good lesson or a wonderful Dharma tonight. And then if you like it, please continue to come from tomorrow. So tomorrow is a big day for me. But tonight, first night usually many people come, and then second, third night is a kind of test to me. Anyway, my name is Kiyonobu Kuwahara. I gave you this handout. It's color. It's black and white. I use the copy machine at the Jōdo Shinshū Center, Berkeley. So it's free for me. I know, Jōdo Shinshū Center pays, but for me it's free to use. So I made a nice color, nice handout. And sorry, I printed this handout last Thursday or Friday before I came. So, and then since I came here, I made some revisions. So for example, I put the email address here, but I forgot to put it here. If you want to send a long, tough, mean question afterwards, please write it down. Anyway, so now I am, I originally from Hiroshima. I'm a Hiroshima boy. Was born at a temple family and then grew up at temple. And I went to Hiroshima University, majored in education, because I wanted to be an English teacher. But at the same time, I'm oldest son of temple family. So we have a family business, right? Temple. And the oldest son means I was supposed to take over temple, my father's position. So when I was, I think, senior, senior, my father asked me, or he begged me to go to Ryukoku University in Kyoto to study Jōdo Shinshū and Buddhism so that I could, take over my father's position to be a Jōdo Shinshū priest at my temple. So after finishing Hiroshima University, my other friend, they became school teachers, right? But I kind of escaped from the reality. And then I spent another, how many years? 6 years or 7 years in Kyoto as a grad student. So I went to Ryukoku University, and then my advisor was Professor Ryusei Takeda. I think who came to Hawaii 3 years ago? 3 years ago as a speaker for the Fuken Minister's Summer Retreat. And he was my advisor. And then when I finished my PhD program, I didn't finish my dissertation, but I decided to study abroad. So first, I tried to come UH. But I couldn't make it. So I went to IBS, Institute of Buddhist Studies, and then here I am. When I finished my IBS, and then Jōdo Shinshū Center just opened in Berkeley. It's some people visited Jōdo Shinshū Center, right? It's a nice facility, education center, right? And then one of the tenants is a Honganji office to run the online correspondence course, and then training program for Japanese ministers who want to become a kaikyoshi, overseas ministers. So Honganji, or actually Bishop Umezu, kind of invited me to work for their office at the Honganji Jōdo Shinshū Center. And then I talked to my parents, and then my parents said, "Okay, go ahead." So that's why I started working at Hongan no Jōdo Shinshū Center, Berkeley. That was 2007. Yeah. So almost 12 years. And then if I include the years at the IBS, after finishing Ryukoku University, my advisor, Takeda Sensei, he pushed me to go abroad because he also studied at the Claremont, college in Los Angeles to study Christianity or religious studies. So he pushed me to study abroad, and then I went to IBS, finishing IBS, and then I started working as a Honganji staff. So now I'm kind of half Honganji staff, international department. So I usually introduce myself as a spy from the Honganji. Because my boss is Honganji. This is my oyakata. My boss is Gomonshu-sama. And also I'm now serving the Berkeley Buddhist Temple, which is located next to the Jōdo Shinshū Center. So weekday, Monday through Friday, I'm an office worker. And then weekend, and then also if necessary, I minister at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. And then such a wonderful members. They are so nice to me so far. I don't know, everything is impermanent, right? So someday they may change, right? So that's my kind of background. And so from today, I'm going to talk about Jōdo Shinshū. Kevin Sensei, is the title Jōdo Shinshū in everyday life? Jōdo Shinshū and everyday life?
You're the boss.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. So, sitting here next to Bishop, Matsumoto, and then looking at the screen, and I realized, maybe I made a mistake. No big difference. Jōdo Shinshū and everyday life. Jōdo Shinshū in everyday life, same thing. Any question about this guy? 大丈夫? You can ask me whatever question anytime. Okay, so although I gave you a handout, so that you can take a memo, but usually I use a slide, PowerPoint. Even the Sunday service, almost every Sunday I gave my Dharma message using a PowerPoint. This is because I do believe people these days, how do you get the information? Eyes, visual. So that's why I think Jōdo Shinshū traditionally kind of, listening, right? Monpo, listen to the Dharma. But nowadays, people are so used to getting information from our eyes. And then also, English is my second language. So sometimes it's easier for me to use a slide and then put some English words hard to pronounce, and then so that you have a better understanding. So that's why how I give a Dharma message at the Berkeley Buddhist Temple. So in the same way, from today to Friday, I give my presentation mainly using a slide, PowerPoint. And then every session, I think, about 30 slides. So maybe every time you receive a kind of couple of pages of this handout. Hi. So I'm going to begin with this word on the screen. So I know some of you noticed. See, this is a Japanese guy. Yeah, typo. Already, this guy made a mistake. This is not an English word. So, Buddhist. So, what's wrong? So, as you can tell, this I is wrong. I is wrong. And then, in this word, I is wrong. And then, I'm sure Buddha would say, agree with me, yes, I is a problem. I is wrong. I think this is what the Buddha would say. And then, what's this I? So let me say, it is ego. Ego, or maybe selfish I, or like a me kind of I. So this I is the problem. And then this I is the main topic, issue of the teaching of Buddhism. Right? And then, but some of you know, have a good understanding, good knowledge of Buddhism. May think about how about the non-self, muga. I'm now talking about I or ego or me, ga in Japanese. But at the same time, Buddhism talk about non-self or muga in Japanese. Well, this is kind of your food for your thought. Maybe you have to think about this issue too. But anyway, so Buddha would point out, I is the problem, I is the issue. Right? So any Buddhist messages, right? You come to the temple, listen to the Dharma message, you open the book about on Buddhism, and then any messages, teaching from the Buddha is not talking about somebody else. Right? Buddha is always talking about you or me. Right? So sometimes, we ministers give a Dharma message at the temple. And then especially Jōdo Shinshū talk about the akunin, evil person, or like a bonno, defilement. Yes, sensei, that's exactly, you're talking about my wife. Sensei, you're talking about my husband. Right? No, that's not the point, right? So that kind of, bonno defilement or akunin, evil person or defiled person, which, Jōdo Shinshū often talk about. That's not, we are not talking about somebody else. Please try to accept that kind of idea, message as your issue. Right? So that's why when we listen to the Dharma, the most important thing is how we should listen to the Dharma. How should we take in this message from the Buddha? Right? So tonight, I would like to introduce you this thing. Yeah. So how to listen to the message, Dharma? In Japan, we call this 門法の心得とか聴聞の心得 in Japanese. Is it okay to, sometimes I kind of insert a Japanese phrase. Some people know Japanese words. 聴聞の心得は門法の心得 in Japanese. How to listen to the Dharma. There are 3 articles. So the second one, number 2 says, listen as if the message is for you alone. So this is very, very important. Again, Buddha, the Buddhist message, Dharma message, sometimes sounds very critical. But please do not escape. Right? So please try to accept that kind of message from the Buddha as if the message is for you alone. This is very, very important. And then the other one, like a first one, listen as if you are listening for the first time. Sometimes we minister, recycle our message. Right? We are green Buddhists, right? So we know how to recycle things, stuff. So sometimes, we ministers recycle our message. But good thing is, most people don't pay much attention to our message. So most of them, they don't remember. Right? So maybe in 2-3 years, later, even when we give a same Dharma message, maybe just 1 or 2 people member come, Sensei, is that you gave a Dharma message before? Maybe just 1 or 2. Most of the members, they don't remember. So do you remember, what did you have for your breakfast 1 week ago? Last Monday, what did you have for breakfast? Oatmeal. If you have an oatmeal every day, right? Yeah, you can answer that way. So Every Sunday, people come to temple, listen to the Dharma. See, even breakfast, lunch, dinner, we don't remember 1 week ago. Right? So, but hopefully, please remember, get a deep, wonderful message of Dharma when you listen to the Dharma. But anyway, so we ministers sometimes give a same Dharma message, right? But we audience, of course, including myself, when we listen to the Dharma, when we receive the same message, how should we listen to it? I've heard that. So if we think, I know that message, or I've heard that message before, and then we pay less attention to the message, right? So it is a precious occasion for you to listen to the Dharma. But if you think, I know this message, and then you pay less attention to it, right? It's kind of もったいない. Yeah? So how about movies and then novels, books, right? I know most of you have your favorite books or movies or dramas, right? And then sometimes you watch movie, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And then sometimes you read your favorite book 2nd time, 3rd time, 4th times, right? And then every time you watch your favorite movie, you read your favorite book, you can find something new, right? You have some kind of discovery, right? Although same, same movie, right? You know the story, and then same book, same, characters, language. But every time you read book, your favorite book, you watch your favorite movie, you got something different, right? That's because our mind is always changing, right? Our perception is always changing. So that's why in the same way, even when you listen to the same Dharma message, right? If you listen to it very seriously, every time you can find something, right? You can find some great, profound message in it. Right? So that's why this is the first article. Right? Listen as if you are listening to it, listen for the first time. And then the third one, this is very important too. Listen as if this is the last time you will ever do so in your life. So it's true, every Sunday, temple is open. You come and then listen to the Dharma, right? And then there are many temples in Oahu and Hawaii, all over the world. So in that sense, you have a chance to listen to the Dharma anyway, anytime. And then nowadays, because of internet, YouTube, right? If you open the YouTube, you can listen to the Dharma anytime, right? So in that sense, we are very fortunate, right? To listen because, these circumstances to listen to the Dharma. But, it says that this is the last time. When you listen to the Dharma, you listen to it as if this is the last time in your life. What does it mean? So when we have a funeral service in the Jōdo Shinshū tradition, after, I think, even mainland and then Hawaii, Canada, wherever we go, I think we have one common item in the funeral service. What's that? Yes! So white ashes. Right? So when Jōdo Shinshū tradition, whenever we have a funeral service, I believe we minister read white ashes, 白骨の書 in Japanese, Renya's letter. I'm sure it's very powerful passage. 入ってるよねこれ。I'm sure. Page if you want to read the English translation, it's on page 132, 33. There are 2 different translations. White ashes number 1. I think this is a different translation. So this is a letter, one of the letters, Rennyo Shonin, who is the 8th spiritual leader of Jōdo Shinshū tradition. He lived in the 16th, 15th, 16th, 15th century in Japan. And then he was the 8th spiritual leader of our tradition. And then he wrote many letters to spread the Dharma, to share the teaching with the members, right? And then this is one of them, White Ashes. And then this letter articulates, the truth of impermanence very, strongly, powerfully, right? So maybe, in the morning, we may have radiant faces, we may alive in the morning, but by evening, we may die, right? And then, nowadays, if you, ask Google, Google is one of the teachers. So if you ask Google, how many people die in a day? Do you know how many people die in this world in a day? About 150,000 people die every day. 115,000 people die every day on this earth, right? So every hour, about 6,000 people. Every hour, 6,000 people die somewhere on this earth. Right? So I'm sure some people came here like around 6 or 6:15ish, and then since then, fortunately nobody died, right, in this room. Right? But I'm sure since you started gathering here, somewhere on this earth, about 6,000 people close their lives, right? And then that is the reality of this world. I think that is the truth of impermanence, right? So now you can have a better sense, the meaning of the third clause, third article. Listen as if this is the last time in your lifetime. So maybe this is my last chance. Maybe not tomorrow, right? If I die tonight, right? So I'm 44, age 44, but I do have a chance of like a heart attack, or something happen tonight, and then no speaker tomorrow, and then maybe Matsumoto Sensei or Kevin Sensei have to cover me, or you may have a traffic accident, tonight on your way home, right? And then I hear some stories, members attended the Sunday service on their, way back home, had a traffic, accident, and they passed away. Right? So that's why, although we are surrounded by many occasions, chance to listen to the Dharma, but please cherish each kind of occasion, listen to the Dharma, as if this is your last time. Right? So, how to listen to the message. Please keep this in your mind. This is very, very important. Because sometimes, members say, Sensei's message was not so good today. Today's Sensei's message was so nice. Right? Sometimes you kind of judge, Dharma message was good, bad, right? But in our tradition, we say there is no good Dharma message. There is no bad Dharma message. Dharma message is Dharma message. It's us who making a kind of put a label, good and bad. Right? Dharma message always carrying the message. Dharma message always giving us some kind of message. It's up to us whether we can get it or lose it. Right? And then if we cannot get it, and then we complain. Sensei is wrong. Sensei's message was not so good. And then when we get it, Sensei's message was good. Right? But again, so Dharma message is Dharma message. It's up each of us how we get it. So again, in other words, we ministers give Dharma message, but this Dharma gathering totally relying on audience. Right? although we ministers make our, do our best so that you have a better understanding with the Dharma message, but the, audience, if you kind of make some effort, then it's not going to happen, right? So that's why this Dharma gathering, 文法の場, 文法の場, Dharma gathering is totally kind of interdependent. Minister, we do our best to share the Dharma, and the audience, you do your best, like, this, how to listen to the Dharma. And then you try to listen to the Dharma, and then get the most out of it. And then that's how this Dharma gathering, 文法の場, getting much meaningful, valuable. Right? So I think I said a really nice thing, especially for ministers, right? From this coming Sunday, I'm sure those people listen very carefully, seriously, your message. Okay. So Buddha's message, again, so it depends on how we take it, how we listen to it. Right? And then when we listen to the message very seriously, paying much attention to it, right? And then as we continue listen to the Dharma, and then someday this big I kind of getting shrink or smaller, and then become this small I, lowercase Buddhist, okay? Buddhist I. And then in that sense, I would say, Sensei, what is Buddhism? Maybe people could ask, Sensei, what is Buddhism? So I would say, as you listen to the Dharma, when you truly encounter the Dharma, your big, strong ego kind of shrink. And then you can be a kind of smaller I. Although still you have an I, maybe kind of small ego, but as you seriously listen to the Dharma, your ego kind of transforms. This big I becomes smaller I. So there should be some kind of transformation you will receive. This is one of the great benefits that you can receive from this teaching, Buddhism. Right? So in that sense, so as when we start listening to the Dharma as a Buddhist, maybe we still have a big I Buddhist. Right? Big I Buddhist. And then maybe when we truly encounter the Dharma, first awareness, first notice, oh, I have such a big I. Right? Maybe that is the first discovery that we can receive, the gift we can receive from Buddhism. And then as we continue to listen to the Dharma, and then gradually this I gets smaller. And then now you can be a Buddhist, right? In a true sense. Okay? So maybe to be a true Buddhist may be difficult, right? And then when you humbly, honestly reflect upon yourself, I'm sure you know how much big I you have, right? And then it's really difficult to shrink, to make your big I smaller, right? So to be a true Buddhist is not the easy thing, right? And then as a Buddhist, we continue the life of listening to the Dharma, right? We enjoy the Dharma, and then we continue the life as a Buddhist. And then eventually, as a Buddhist, we still carry small I, but this I eventually will, become extinct. It will go on, right? What does it mean? What is the goal of Buddhism? It is to become a Buddha, to become enlightened. So this image, it looks big, but do you know this? Most of you know. So this is a pin badge made by the BDK, 仏教伝道協会, like a freebies. And then, I think there are many, almost I think 30 kinds, 25, 30 kinds of kind of Buddhist saying pin badge. And then this is my favorite one. There is no I in Buddha. See? Look at the word Buddha, B-U-D-D-H-A. There is no I. right? There is no I. I think Brian Nagata, he's genius. I think this is made by Brian Nagata, who is a staff of the Bukkyo and the BDK. And then this is kind of his, words of wisdom. There is no I in Buddha, Buddha. Yeah, there is no I. So as a Buddhist, we continue the life, as a Buddhist. And then eventually, as a Buddhist, we become Buddha. What does it mean? We lose. There is no I within us. And then this I is kind of symbol of our ego, selfishness. And then it's gone, and then we become Buddha. And then here I'd like to point out this thing. So I want each of you to seriously think about the meaning, what it means to become, for each of you to become a Buddha, enlightened one, right? So question, what is Buddhism, right? I know there are tons of different answers or maybe explanation to this question, this very simple question. And then maybe each of you may have different answer to this simple question. But I would say maybe there are two general brief answers. What is Buddhism? Okay, so Buddhism is a teaching taught by Shakyamuni Buddha. Okay, so Shakyamuni Buddha was born in India about 500 years ago in India. And then he became enlightened one and then share his wisdom, teaching with other people. So maybe one way is, Buddhism is a teaching by Shakyamuni Buddha. And then by practicing Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching, and then as a goal, we become Buddha. We attain enlightenment or Buddhahood. And then each of us, we also become a Buddha, enlightened one. Right? So this is the teaching of Buddhism. Right? So in the same way, who is a Buddhist? So one who appreciates the teachings by Shakyamuni Buddha. Right? This enlightened one, Shakyamuni Buddha, shared the teaching, words of wisdom. And then Buddhists are those who appreciate or enjoy these words of wisdom from Shakyamuni Buddha. Right? Or maybe those who respect, this great figure, right? And then also, I would say Buddhists are those who has aspiration to become a Buddha or enlightened one. So I would say all teachings, not just only Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism, everything under Buddhism is related or for us to become Buddha, become enlightened one. So if you do not have any aspiration to become a Buddha, I'm sure Buddhist teaching doesn't make sense, or in ultimate sense, right? It's not just a tool to make your life easy, right? It's not just a tool or like a psychotherapy or like a tool for your stress reduction. From my perspective, my observation, Buddhism, in Japanese we call it 成仏道, 成仏道, 仏となる道. So if you do not have any aspiration to become Buddha, and then Jōdo Shinshū teaching, or I talk later, Amida Buddha, Primal Vow, Hongan, everything doesn't make sense. In other words, if you have a kind of good or deep aspiration, or maybe good understanding or thought of what it means for me to become Buddha, and then everything, any teaching in Buddhism makes sense to you. Right? So in other words, I'm sure Buddhism, and especially Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism, are facing a big difficulties spreading the teaching. And then I think this is one of the cause of our issue. Because easy practice is for us to become Buddha is really easy. Right? But if we do not have any aspiration or wish to become Buddha, so what? Right? So that's why this Bodha in Japanese Bodaishin, aspiration to become Buddha. If you have that kind of aspiration, then everything makes sense to you. But if not, it's really difficult to get the Buddhist teaching. So I just wanted to point out this. Of course, I just throw question, ask to you, each of you to think about what it means for you to become Buddha or enlightened one. Right? So this is a very profound question. It takes a long time to find, or maybe you cannot find the answer until you die. But this is very important question as a Buddhist. So maybe one answer or hint to think about this question. Let me use this Chinese character. What's this? Watashi, hai. Watashi, I. Hai. So this is a Chinese character, I, watashi. So let me play with this Chinese character. Hai. So I took one, took the second one. And then maybe some of you can recognize this Chinese character. What's this? Butsu, that means Buddha. So this is a interesting play of Chinese character. From the Chinese character I, taking three things. And then the Chinese character here is Buddha. I can become Buddha. Right? And then, interesting, what are they? The three is maybe three poisons. Right? So I, as a human being, carry lots of greed, anger, and stupidity. Right? Once those three are removed, taken away from myself, and then I can become Buddha. Right? That's true. Right? So to become Buddha, in a sense, we kind of totally eliminate, take away those three poisons, and then we can become Buddha. And then what are they? Three poisons: greed, anger, stupidity. In Japanese Buddhist terminology, it says sandoku. Sandoku, three poisons. So G-A-S. What's G-A-S? Gas, right? So three poisons are gas, right? So we pass gas every day, right? And then by passing a gas, I suffer myself. And then, of course, I give trouble, difficulties to other people by passing gas. Right? So don't you think this is the same way? Right? Because of my own gas, greed, anger, stupidity, I suffer myself. And then because of my three poisons, I give trouble to other people. Right? So that's why, three poisons, once we can remove it, we can become Buddha. Means we don't carry the cause of suffering anymore. Right? And then Buddhism, to become Buddha, means free from suffering. Right? So in that sense, to remove the cause of suffering is a remedy, or to become a Buddha, in a sense. So that's why taking away those three poisons is to become a Buddha. And then like playing with Chinese character, I can become, Buddha by taking three. はい。どこかな今日は。もうちょっと行きましょうか。So, again, I mentioned, as I said, like a capital I, uppercase I becomes, lowercase I. And then eventually this I, disappear and then we become Buddha, right? So I think I understand Buddhism is the teaching of changing. Buddhism is a teaching of transformation, right? As we seriously follow, listen to this teaching, and then I can be changed, right? So this is a passage, words from Shinran Shonin. Once the true and real mind, which is Shinjin, I will talk about the Shinjin day 3. So the true and real mind is made to arise in us. How can we remain as we were? So as we listen to the Dharma, as we truly encounter Amida Buddha's teaching, and then we are transformed. We are kind of changed by the power of Dharma. So this is Jōdo Shinshū teaching. As we seriously listen to the Dharma, we are changed, we are transformed. This is Jōdo Shinshū teaching. And then, I said, Shinran Shonin, he is a founder of our school, Jōdo Shin Buddhism. Sometimes we call it Jōdo Shin Buddhism, or some people like a shorter version, like a Shin Buddhism. Either is fine, Shin Buddhism or Jōdo Shinshu Buddhism. Shinran, Master Shinran, is a founder who lived in the 12th century as a Buddhist monk. So we are the follower of Shinran Shonin, Master Shinran. But the Buddhism is not only one. Buddhism is not only Jōdo Shinshu Buddhism. As you know, there are many different schools of Buddhism, right? Tendai, or Shingon, or Zen, or Nichiren, and Jōdo. In Hawaii, there are many different Japanese Buddhist temples, right? And then not only Japanese Buddhist temples, you can find like a Tibetan Buddhism and Theravada Buddhism, right? There are many different kinds of Buddhism. And then symbolically, they are called 84,000 Dharma gates. 84,000 Dharma gates. And then I would say, so this is a kind of my image of 84,000 Dharma gates, right? So there is a Mount Buddhism, right? And then there is a hut at the top of this mountain. This is our destination. This is where we are going, heading for. And then to get there, there are many ways or methods, right, to get there. From the mountain for like a straight, path or kind of winding path, right? So you can take those, path or road to get to the this hut. Or if you like adventure, you can, use a parachute coming down from the sky. If you are rich enough, you can charter a helicopter. So one destination, but a different way to get there. In the same way, I came from San Francisco, right? So from Hawaii to San Francisco, there are many different ways to get there, right? So one destination, but we have a kind of different choice to get there. So in the same way, Buddhism, to become a Buddha, to attain enlightenment, is our destination as a Buddhist. But there are many different gates. It says different gates, kind of entrance. Right? But all those gates or entrances leading to the same destination. Right? So although we are Jōdo Shin Buddhist, there are Tendai Buddhist, Shingon Buddhist, Jōdo Shu Buddhist, right? And then Tibetan Buddhist, like a Theravada Buddhist. We have different types of Buddhists, but we are all kind of, fellow travelers, kind of brothers and sisters, heading for the same destination. Just we taking a different entrances, heading for the same destination. And then why Buddhism has so many, variety, so many different entrances or paths or choices. I'd say this is because different practitioners, right? So to climb mountain, to climb mountain. Maybe kids try to climb mountain. And then, old person, old guy try to climb the mountain. Or a person in a wheelchair, handicapped people try to, climb mountain. or maybe this, red face, drunk, drunk person, want to climb mountain. So looking at this world, as you can see, there are many different types of people. So that's why each person can find his or her own way so that reach the destination. Right? So the variety of Buddhist teaching is totally based on the variety of practitioners. So that's why the variety of Buddhist teachings, Buddhist path, is totally based on here, teaching delivered in accordance with listener's capability or preference. Shakyamuni Buddha, it is said, when he talked to kids, he used a very easy, plain language so that kids can have a better understanding. If the audience likes like a philosophy or a kind of difficult language, Shakyamuni Buddha used the philosophical terms, philosophical languages. So Shakyamuni Buddha, he flexibly changed his ways of sharing the Dharma in accordance with the audience or preference of the audience, right? That's because this is Shakyamuni Buddha's aspiration or Shakyamuni Buddha's compassion, right? So by flexibly changing the way he shared the Dharma, teaching, and then as a result, the audience can have a better understanding. Right? Shakyamuni Buddha has a deep compassion or compassionate aspiration that all people can be liberated from suffering by listening to his teaching, by practicing this teaching of wisdom. Right? So his attitude, his way was, listen to it. Just listen to it. That's not his style. Right? He tried to, change himself so that people could have a better understanding. And that is, I would say, compassion. Right? That is his compassion. For audiences' better understanding of the Dharma, he tried to flexibly change his attitude. Right? So in other words, there are many Buddhist paths, Buddhist teachings, styles. And then each of us can find my own way, my own path. Right? So Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism, we have Amida Buddha. We talk about the Pure Land, right? And then with those ideas or teachings or items, and then we can have a better understanding of myself or this world, so that we can live better this life. Right? But I know some people get stuck with this kind of Amida Buddha or Pure Land or Hongan Nembutsu. And then those people could take a different path, like a Zen or kind of esoteric Buddhism. Try to kind of less, form, Buddhist teaching. So the variety of Buddhist teaching is to accommodate as much people as Buddha can. Right? So in that sense, this is all about based on Shakyamuni Buddha's compassion. Okay, so now I'm going to take a break, and then after this I'm going to talk about Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism more specifically. So let's have a 15 minutes break.
Doesn't the idea of Bonbu, in other words, foolish self, reinforce retaining our ego self? That we don't have to change. We can be selfish. No problem. Doesn't it do that?
Any comments from those? So it's a kind of issue of a Hongan Bokori, like a licensed evil kind of idea.
Yeah.
think this is a more like a discussion or kind of item that I will cover day 3 under the topic of Shinjin. And then when we attain Shinjin or Shinjin arises within us, what happens, right? And then, so when that happens, I think that kind of feeling, I don't think, appear within us, kind of, that, including that, I think I would say we are kind of changed, we don't kind of think that way. That is kind of my answer, kana.
Okay, so to kind of paraphrase you, what you're saying is that you have a change of attitude about things. Because one attitude is, okay, I'm going to use this like maybe a not so ethical lawyer to justify what I'm doing. But once your attitude changes, you tend not to do it. But let's see if when you get to that. So unfortunately, you have to come. What night is it going to be?
Day 3. This is my strategy to bring people. Oh, that's day 4. That's day 5.
So, okay. So for now, we'll go on and hopefully. Oh, by the way, I'm going to try really hard to get all of this that's being recorded on the record so that it's available. The process of editing is very difficult, though. If you know anybody that can do it, then we can guarantee that's going to get out. So maybe I can get that day for you if you miss it. Or you can bug me about it, and I'll just give you a raw copy or something. Okay, well, let's go on so we don't use up too much time. Okay, this one I just got to do one question just to be fair. Why is there such an apparent chasm between Jōdo Shinshū and the other sects of Buddhism?
Chasm?
Yeah, like a big gap, a big difference.
So I want to get a more specific, specification, clarification. What kind of gap? So
okay,
or
if the person doesn't mind, can they clarify, or is it he's too shy? Okay. Yeah. I know you're not shy, so go for it. By the way, Rodney is a very good volunteer here, so that's why I know him. Yeah.
What I meant by this was that whenever we talk about Buddhism in general, at the Shakyamuni level, and then we get into Jōdo Shinshū, there is always some kind of we don't do that in Jōdo Shinshū. That's what I mean by chasm. Why? Why are we so closed about that?
So this is hard to answer, but I think especially talking about so for example, you chanting a Heart Sutra kind of thing. Although other schools they chant the Heart Sutra, but Jōdo Shinshū we don't do that kind of thing.
Could be anything. Meditation. For instance.
Oh, right, meditation.
We don't do meditation.
Yeah.
Why not?
So maybe in a sense, I would say Jōdo Shinshū is very picky. In a sense, Amida is very open to anybody.
Right.
But at the same time, Jōdo Shinshū has very specific aspect, right? So that's why kind of uniqueness of Jōdo Shinshū. For example, meditation. But I think there is a kind of room for discussion. So for example, sometimes, Jōdo Shinshū, we are very allergic to meditation. Right? Oh, we're not going to do practice meditation, right? But I would say Jōdo Shinshū does have meditation. And then the thing is, definition of meditation. What kind of meditation are you talking about, right? So for example, meditation, why do we practice meditation? I think to know ourselves. Then Jōdo Shinshū does have meditation. Listen to the Dharma, reflection upon yourself, and then those all meditation, right? We listen to the Dharma. Why? Because Buddha telling who we are. By truly listening to the Dharma, we can know ourselves better. We can know who I am by listening to the Dharma. in that sense, the practice of meditation, the practice kind of listening to the Dharma, I would say it is Jōdo Shinshū meditation. But we don't do sit down and then close the eyes and then try to eliminate our blind passions. That's not the meditation Jōdo Shinshū kind of try to, kind of avoid, keep away. So I think Shinran is very specific, kind of many things. And then, so that's why we, Jōdo Shinshū, follow the kind of uniqueness or kind of specific kind of definition or kind of way. I don't know, I could, answer your question fully. Maybe we need a more discussion. Okay.
Thank you, Sensei. Yeah, it is not an easy question to answer, so I think we should go on. Well, you and I can have a good discussion. Yeah, put on the boxing gloves. Okay. Okay, here's the other one at random. Would Christianity, Judaism, Islam each have a path to the Dharma gate?
なるほどね。That is a very good question. ね、I think within Jōdo Shinshū tradition, maybe each minister has a different answer to this question. I'm sure. But I myself want to kind of unify, mix up everything. To my understanding, Jōdo Shinshū is Jōdo Shinshū. Christianity is Christianity. Judaism is Judaism. So that's my understanding of religion. And then some people kind of put everything all together. All religion is kind of one. Amida, God, Allah, whatever. They're kind of same kind of approach. I know that kind of idea, and then I acknowledge. But I myself don't take that way. And then, so in that sense, Christianity, they are not entering the Dharma gate. They are not one of the 84,000 Dharma gates. And then this is because there is no, especially there is no Amida, there is no Buddha, there is no three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. And then if they don't appreciate, respect, or worship them, I don't think they are Buddhist. And then, to me, I think it's kind of rude to all religious faiths into one. Right? I studied at my academic focus at the IBS, Institute of Buddhist Studies, as a comparative studies between Christianity and the Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism. So at the IBS, especially I went to GTU, Graduate Theological Union. And then I went to Christian seminaries and then talked to many Christian people, and then Christian professor taught me many, many things. And then my conclusion was, it's okay for each religious tradition should follow, or person follow his or her own religious path. We shouldn't necessarily try to kind of combine everything into one, right? I know people kind of afraid of the conflict of a fight because of the difference, but I don't think so. Yeah? So this is the kind of idea sometimes I use. Yeah. Those are the mountains, right? And then maybe this is Mount Buddhism, Mount Jōdo Shinshū, and then this is Mount Christianity, this is Mount Muslim, or kind of different mountains of religious teachings. And then the一流のクライマー、ね、一流のクライマーだから英語にしたらなんだ like a top climbers, ね、I don't think they're gonna compare, okay, I achieved this mountain, and then they're not gonna look down other people, right? The top climbers, he or she climbed the mountain, and then also in the same way show the respect to other climbers who achieved the mountains, right? So in a true sense, Jōdo Buddhists or Christians, Muslims, whoever, if they really have a religious kind of deep appreciation, if those people like truly get it, I don't think they have a fight over the difference of religious teaching. I'm sure they will respect each other, right? So that's why my understanding of different of religious teaching. So I, as a Jōdo Buddhist, of course it's nice, all people kind of follow the Jōdo Shinshū Buddhist, kind of become a Jōdo Buddhist. But I do understand each person has a choice of religion. And then I do respect other religious faith. Because studying at the Christian seminary, and then I have many Christian friends, and then I respect their religious life. And then so do they. They also respect my life as a Buddhist. Right? So that's why I don't think we have to necessarily, kind of combine everything into one day. So there's another idea is there's one big, huge mountain. And then Buddhist climber, Christian climber, Muslim climber, so all, religious followers trying to, reach the same destination, same, summit. So this is another understanding, combining all religious teaching. But I myself don't take that idea. So in that sense, my answer to my question is maybe the Christian, Muslim, other religious teaching, they are not entering the gate of Buddhist path. And then I'm fine. It's okay.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, so.
So does that mean they don't go to the Pure Land?
Yeah, in this life.
Yeah.
I think これがね、okay, so this is a discussion or kind of topic day 5. Yeah, Pure Land ね. So, and then, if we read Shinran Shonin's Kyōgyo Shinsho preface, the first part of Kyōgyo Shinsho, he showed his gratitude of encountering this teaching, Amida Buddha's teaching. But he said, if we have doubt and then we miss this teaching, he said we will continue to kind of transmigrate the life, right? And then also like 3 treasures. How is it to be born into human life? Now we are living it, right? And then that passage also talking about, from the long, long past, long karma past, now we finally encounter it. In other words, we had many lifetimes kind of didn't encounter the Buddha Dharma. But finally we can make it. We encounter it. And then we are settled to attain birth, right? So that's why, in that sense, I think Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism, according to my reading of Shinran Shonin, has the idea of transmigration. If we don't make it, right? If we don't have the chance to encounter the Dharma, maybe we kind of continue. But someday we can meet the Dharma, the teaching of Amida Buddha, and then we can make it, right? So that's why I appreciate 3 treasures, right? And then also, so that's why Amida Buddha, Buddha of life, of immeasurable life, right? Why Amida Buddha has an immeasurable life. So this is a topic for tomorrow, Amida Buddha, day 2. Why Buddha, the 13th vow, why Buddha talking about the longevity or kind of immeasurable life? So, this is kind of my answer.
Okay, now we do want to answer, suggest a question, but I think what I need to do is I need to moderate a little bit more. So we're not going to take questions from the floor. It's going to be strictly index cards, okay? And there were a little bit more questions, but I think Sensei kind of covered some of the other questions. Okay, so we still have 3 left over that we're going to carry over tomorrow so that we can cover all the topics. That's really it, And talk to your minister, or you can talk to me if you want to debate or something.
You have a wonderful sensei in Hawaii.
Yeah, and then get clarification. So we're going to go on, and the goal is to try and wrap up the presentations by 9 and to have a little bit of like these 2 questions, but I don't want to retain you folks too long. So we're dealing with a little bit of time pressure here. Okay, so please understand. Okay, so I'll turn it back over to Sensei.
Yes. はい、ケビン先生ありがとうございます。Thank you for facilitating. ね。I think this is a good occasion for me to receive what's your question? What is the topic? And then I'm still working on my material, so maybe tonight or tomorrow night I can kind of revise or change or add more questions, the more information to my PowerPoint presentation. So, which really I appreciate your question or comments. Yeah. Okay, so back to my presentation, right? So 84,000 Dharma gates. Yeah. And then that's because of Buddha's compassionate aspiration. More people can experience the change, with this teaching, the Dharma. And then, what is Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism? What is the uniqueness of Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism? How do we receive this kind of change or transformation from this teaching? So this is a passage from Shōshingen. Shakyamuni Tathagata Buddha appeared in this world solely to teach the ocean-like primal vow of Amida Buddha. So Shakyamuni Buddha, he taught many different teachings. Symbolically, it said 84,000 Dharma gates. And then among them, Shinran Shonin taught the teaching that Shakyamuni Buddha delivered about Amida Buddha. So this is the core message. This is the core essence of Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. And this is the foundation, essence of Jōdo Shinshū teaching. Right? So Shakyamuni Buddha taught many different teachings. And there are many different Buddhist scriptures, Buddhist sutras. Right? Among them, right? Shinran Shonin, he thought this is Amida Buddha's teaching, is the core essence of Shakyamuni Buddha, and Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. So as I said, I'll talk about Amida Buddha tomorrow. And then speaking of Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism or Shin Buddhism, so Master Shinran is our founder, and then we have a Jōdo Shinshū Honganji-ha, which we call Nishi Honganji. If you go to Kyoto, you can see a big temple on the west side of the Higashi Honganji. Just in front of the Kyoto temple, you can see a huge, Buddhist temple. That is a Jōdo Shinshū, Higashi Honganji. You already answered, so I'm not going to ask you a question. And skip that, save the time. So our organization, Jōdo Shinshū Honganji-ha. So there are 10 traditional Jōdo Shinshū schools. 10 Jōdo Shinshū traditional schools. And then our school, Jōdo Shinshū Honganji-ha, which is the official title. Or casually, we call Nishi Honganji. We call Nishi Honganji-ha. And then our school has over 10,000 temples in Japan. And then over 32,000 ministers, ordained ministers. And then 1/3 is female ministers, which is good. And then this is the number of members. Starting from Shinran Shonin, I said the 10 traditional Jōdo Shinshū schools, right? And then if we kind of combining all those members, we are the largest Buddhist organization, largest Buddhist school in Japan. And then I'm not just talking about the size of our organization. I'd like to point out the authenticity of this teaching. Authenticity of this teaching. Right? Looking at this world, there are hundreds of thousands of religious teachings. Right? Almost every day, new religious groups are formed. And then later on, they disappear. Right? In that situation, our organization, as you can see, our founder, he lived 13th century, 12th, 13th century. And then we've survived over 800 years. And then we are the largest Buddhist organization in Japan, which is a country of Buddhism. Right? And then please think about what it means. What it means. In the country of Buddhism, And then Jōdo Shinshū is the largest Buddhist organization. I would say people, something makes sense to the people, right? People think, oh, this is true teaching. So that's why people attracted, drawn to this teaching, and then became a member. Of course, there are many historical, political, many kind of, factors, elements. But this is the fact. We are the largest organization. So something, kind of ring a bell to people. Right? So, for example, some of you, if you like a philosophy, you know this person, Nishida Kitaro. He's one of the top, the most famous philosopher, right? And then he said, of course he's a philosopher, so he has lots of books, right? So even when he loses all books, so as long as he can keep the Tannisho, a record of Lament of Diversions, which is a collection of Shinran Shonin's work, and then he's okay, right? So in other words, Nishida Kitaro was drawn, although he had a kind of background of a Zen, but he has a very deep understanding, deep appreciation of Jōdo Shinshū teaching too. So that's kind of his comment about showing his appreciation of Shinran Shonin's teaching work. And then Shiba Ryōtaro, if you like a Japanese novel, Shiba Ryōtaro is one of the most famous novelists. If he go to a desert island, and then only one book, he take a Tannisho. This is his choice. And then not only Japanese people, so I think this, I found this in the Chugai Nippo datta kana. There is a news letter about Buddhism, like a religious, religion in Japan. And then there is an interview. I think this is 1970s, early 1970s. And then Martin Heidegger, he is also one of the famous contemporary philosopher. And he was also drawn to the message, Shinran Shonin's message in the Tannisho. So again, Jōdo Shinshū teaching kind of attracted many people. And then because of this teaching, that's why I believe this organization, Jōdo Shinshū, could become the largest Buddhist organization in Japan. So please be confident. Sometimes people think, oh, Jōdo Shinshū, it's kind of shy to say I'm a Jōdo Shinshū Buddhist. But if you go to Japan, there are so many Jōdo Shinshū Buddhists. Here, I think you can see many Zen or Tibetan Buddhists. But if you go to Japan, it's, I think, much easier to find a Jōdo Shinshū temple than a Zen Buddhist temple. And then those are the, how many people have you visited Honganji? Arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you very much. It's a huge building, yeah, huge temple. But it's hard to tell from this, a picture. But I think this is the size of human, huh? It's a very big, huge building. And then this is a founder's hall. If you go to enter the Honganji, you can see two huge, udon buildings. One is Amida Hall, and then the other one is Founders Hall. And then right now, this Amida Hall is under renovation. So morning service, there is no chance to, relax your legs. So in the morning service, right, we have one service at this, hall, and then we move to the Shinran Shonin's hall. But right now, this Shinran Shonin's hall is under renovation. So we have a morning service at only one place. So we have to keep Seiza whole service. So no chance to walk to the next building. Anyway, hi. So Jōdo Shinshū in the world. So BCA, we have a overseas district, BCA, Canada, Hawaii, and South America. And then there are some overseas regional districts, Australia, Mexico, Taiwan, Nepal, and then Europe. Right? So there are over 200 temples and then Sangha groups all outside of Japan. This is a big number, especially among the traditional Japanese Buddhist organizations. It's a very kind of huge number. So we have a big network outside of Japan. Last month, July, we had a Tokudo ordination. And then, so those people they are not the Japanese people. So we had 20 people attended the ordination. 10 from BCA, mainland US, and then 3 from Canada, and then 4 from the UK, and then 3 from China. So we had 20 people who took the ordination. And then there were Japanese people. And the number of Japanese people took the aspirant was 25. So 25 Japanese people and then 20, foreigners. So this is a kind of very impressive, memorable ordination ceremony. As some of you took the ordination in this room, and then it takes a long time for the preparation, and then you need the money too, right? But we had 20 people, right, prepared spending a couple years, and then spending, I don't know, maybe close to $10,000 to complete the Tokudo ordination, right? But we had 20 people. So those people had the kind of passion or enthusiasm to spread the Dharma as an ordained minister or priest. So I would say this is a good sign. I know, the membership and we kind of decline or kind of sad news all over, right? Mainland here. But I think this is a great news. We had 20 people who took ordination, become a minister priest, and then try to spread the Jōdo Shinshū teaching in the world. Especially Europe. I said the 4 from the UK. So there are European Sanghas. And then they are now gradually growing. And then very interesting, different situation because BC, Hawaii, Canada, South America, all Japanese immigrants, right? The start of propagation is all Japanese immigrant, right? But now we kind of getting more mixture. But Europe, there is no background of Japanese immigrant. So this is just teaching only. Just teaching only, they are drawn to the Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism. And then this Sangha in Europe is kind of expanding, growing. So this is a great news. Hi. So back to the first topic, change, transformation. So as we listen to the Dharma, this big I, selfish, egoistic I, has been transformed, changed into lower, kind of smaller I. How does this formation happen? With this Jōdo Shinshū teaching. Jōdo Shinshū teaching. I hope you know this. Kaki, in Japanese kaki, English persimmon. Because of this shape, this taste, bitter. So the chubby fat one is kind of sweet. This kind of long one is terrible. Have you ever eaten this? It's really terrible. I have a kind of video project using this persimmon, bitter one. And then one day I had my boys, eat them. Videotaping it. It's kawaisou. very bitter and a terrible taste. Yeah. Yeah. But in Japan, we have this hoshigaki, like a dried or sweet persimmon. And then how do we get them? As some of you know, so peeling this bitter one, right? And then hang outside. Right? And then sunlight or under change of temperature, and then like a change of humidity, and then a flow of air, right? And then we need a time, right? And then this bitter, terrible, kaki persimmon, and then eventually changed or transformed into sweet one. So I would say this is one example of how Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism changes us. So to make it, to make them sweet, of course there are other ways, more like an external way, right? Maybe my kids could kind of like honey or sugar or whipped cream, right? So even when we put those kind of sweet stuff, sweet things, right? Maybe superficially, this bitter persimmon tastes sweet, but once we bite it, still terrible taste, right? So those kind of things can change the taste superficially, but essentially nothing has changed. But I would say Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism, right? It's not try to change us kind of superficially or maybe outside, right? This teaching changes us from kind of internal change, right? The whole, body, whole subject is totally changed. Like this bitter persimmon is changed into sweet one. Yeah. So like this. Yeah. So I compare myself to persimmon, kaki. Yeah. I may be a terrible taste. Right? I'm sure my wife knows, a lot. And then, but this guy can be transformed, changed, better taste, right? Less terrible kill. And then how? I said the sunlight, change of temperature. So this kind of exposure to sunlight, and then kind of change of temperature, humidity, and the flow of air, etc., etc. I would say they are Amida Buddha, the working of Amida Buddha, or they are the Dharma, the working of Dharma. Right? So, Jōdo Shinshū idea, it's hard, it's really difficult to change myself. Right? How am I changed? How can I be transformed? We do need the power or influence or help, work from something other than myself. So Shinran Shonin realized, okay, Amida Buddha, the teaching of Amida Buddha changes myself from within. Right? And then Dharma, Buddha Dharma changes myself, my subject, my whole, subject. Right? So that's why in the Jōdo Shinshū tradition, we talk about other power, other power, other power. And then other power here means, right? Work, effort, power, influence, whatever that changes myself. Something other than myself that brings this kind of change. So that's why, we call the teaching of other power. like a persimmon is transformed changes with exposed to those things. So Amida Buddha has a change, wish for us to change, right? Because as I said, because of my own greed, anger, stupidity, I suffer myself, and then I give trouble other people. From Buddha's perspective, 何をしょるんかいの What are you doing? So Buddha is worried about me. Buddha wants to improve my life. And then eventually, Buddha wants me completely liberate me, this guy, from suffering. That is Buddha's wish. That is Buddha's compassion. Right? To liberate me and then all of you from the life of suffering. Right? And then give a guidance for your better life. So Buddha has a wish to change each of us. And then us, we just listen seriously, truly listen to Buddha's guidance, and then deeply appreciate Buddha's wish or aspiration, compassionate aspiration. Right? And then we respond with gratitude. Oh, thank you, Buddha. Thank you, Buddha. So I think this is the basic structure of Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism. Right? Buddha has a wish. Buddha is worried about me. Or one minister said, Buddha has a sense of care. Right? Buddha has a deep sense of care about myself and each of us. And then what we should do is to listen to it, to know it, and then appreciate, and then respond to it with the words of gratitude. So this is I would say, this basic system of Jōdo Shinshū Buddhism. And then that kind of Buddha's wish can be, we could label like a primal vow. Right? We could label on Buddha's kind of aspiration wish as a compassion. Or maybe Buddha's wish can be actualized into a so-called Pure Land, what we call Pure Land. Right? So those are the kind of manifestation of Buddha's wish. Buddha's formless wish took the form into Buddha, or like a primal vow in the form of language, or Buddha's land. Right? And then we accept, receive it, and then respond. Our acceptance, we could call it shinjin. Our response, oh, thank you, Buddha, arigato, could be called nembutsu. So I would say this is the basic. And then so from tomorrow, I talk about Amida Buddha. And then day 3, I talk about shinjin. Day 4, I talk about nembutsu. And then the day 5 kind of summary, and then also wrapping up, also Pure Land is my schedule. And then so tomorrow, what is Amida Buddha? What kind of wish Buddha has? And then what is Amida Buddha? I'm sure many people kind of start. So what is the difference from God? That kind of question. So this is the topic for tomorrow. So this is how I try to bring you tomorrow night too. Okay.
Sorry, I can't cover all 3 questions. But I will retain these cards. By the way, they're very good questions, okay? But all joking aside, they're very good questions. So I'll ask one question, and then we'll continue tomorrow, okay? Partly it's because we have service, etc. That since they didn't have a chance to, as much time as we normally would have. So I think we will be able to catch up. We'll make an effort to catch up. So just one question, Sensei, and then we'll be wrapping up after that. Okay, again, this was in random order. Somebody was really busy. I see the same handwriting, but that's okay. Okay. Are there 3 or more virtues that we ought to follow on a daily basis? What are they? And well, there's all kinds of questions here, but
Three virtues.
Yeah, are there like three virtues? And well, I think the reason why they said three is that the last question maybe that's what the last question would clarify. Are there the opposite to the three poisons? Is there?
Ooh.
Yeah, is there an opposite to the three poisons? So how do we not have gas?
So once you become a Buddha, you can tell. Yeah. So I think the opposite of three poisons would be to become Buddha, or maybe wisdom. Yeah. To attain wisdom is the kind of opposite of three poisons. Yeah. What is the other question?
You said, are there three virtues? Is there things that we should follow?
なるほどね。はいはいはい。Like as the opposite, so we have three poisons, and then like as the opposite, are there any three? Maybe yes. That's I just don't know, because Buddhist studies developed over 2,000 years, and there's so much information to learn, and then maybe there is a idea of three virtues opposite to three poisons. Maybe just I don't know, but yeah, maybe virtues. Yeah.
What about four?
はい。
Infinite. She, who, yo, she,
ああ。
he,
はい。
he, shall. More and more Buddhist schools are talking about this, but except us. But we have.
We have a good resource person here. Muneto sensei.
Sensei, I didn't hear. Could you repeat that for Muneto Sensei? Especially for, yeah.
どうしようかな。慈悲記者って先生これです？これ。So 慈悲記者 so means kind of compassion でいいんです。compassion
Loving kindness.
はい loving kindness はい and then き
And compassion.
はい
And joy.
joy and then
Fourth one is heart.
so separating ourselves from attachment かな sha means kind of basically slow away, but what should we slow away our attachment, so kind of keeping ourselves away from the attachment かな、so loving kindness and then joy so I just combine 慈悲 so maybe yeah I think again, so Buddhist studies developed in many ways. So this is one example, like as a model, like of four virtues, opposite to three poisons, and then three poisons in 反対する. Or maybe opposite is not be angry, not be greedy, not be stupid. But it's hard, right? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, and it's closing in on 9 o'clock. Yeah. So I know we worked Sensei very hard tonight, and thank you very much, Sensei.